I have been watching professional wrestling for over 10 years now. I've been to over 100 shows in person in the last few years. I've seen even more on TV. So I thought that as an introduction to myself and this YouTube channel, I would give you a few of my personal match recommendations that are basically my favorite matches that I've seen over these past 10 and a bit years. Kick things off here by talking about what is my favorite match of all time. And that is from the 2018 New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Style Evolved show, the Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers. Now, I mostly loved this match for two reasons. That is, number one, I love a good tag team match with a great pace, with constant action all the time, no breaks, that type of thing. And that was what this match is. On its own, without anything else, an amazing tag team match. But what I also loved was the story that it told. Now in 2018, in case you weren't aware, that was when the popularity of basically the Elite, the Bullet Club, and everything in New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor was at its peak. It was an amazing time to be a fan of professional wrestling outside of WWE. Now I'm not going to get too much into that time period, as this video will probably end up being about 3 hours long, and I only want it to be about 5. So we're only going to talk about the match itself. So basically, to sort of sum up the story of the match, we had the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They were basically this tight friend group that had some sort of disagreements going on that we then ended up seeing Kota Ibushi come in, and then this match was made. Now, Kenny Omega and Matt Jackson had sort of disagreements. Matt Jackson sort of started to despise Kenny Omega, while Nick Jackson was sort of trying to maintain the friendship between the three of them. And we saw this devolve during the match. We saw Kenny Omega attacking Matt Jackson's back, which, in case you don't know, Matt Jackson has been selling a back injury since like Wrestle Kingdom 10, which I think is the best thing ever. He still does it to this day, but anyway, that's besides the point. We saw Kenny Omega attacking Matt Jackson's back and really hurting him to the point that we saw Nick Jackson coming in and trying to break things up, which I quite liked. It was like two friends having a disagreement with one friend sort of trying to step in between the two of them and sort things out. And that sort of mixed in with, as we've sort of previously discussed here, the fast-paced nature of the match really came together to create an absolutely phenomenal match. Now, from memory, it was about 45-ish minutes long, and it was such a great match that I actually remember where I was, what I was doing on the day that I saw it. I could tell you exactly where I was sitting in this house when I watched it, and yeah. So we're starting things off here. That was my favorite match of all time. The Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers from New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Style Evolved 2018. Next, I want to talk about what is a fairly recent one. That is the triple threat match from the night one main event of WrestleMania 41 between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. Pretty much, you can copy paste everything I said about the Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers and just say it here. This was, at its core, from a pure in-ring perspective, an absolutely phenomenal match. There was very few periods throughout the match where all three guys weren't involved in the choreography of the match. There were things like we saw the CM Punk hitting a GTS into Roman Reigns hitting a spear into Seth Rollins hitting a stomp. Just stuff like that where the pace was going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. There was something. And the pace of the match really never stopped, was what I really loved about the match from a pure in-ring perspective. But that, much like the Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers, mixed in with a phenomenal story that linked all three of the guys together, created what, if the Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers is my favorite tag match of all time, this has to be my favorite triple threat match of all time. Because a pure in-ring masterpiece mixed with a storytelling masterpiece always creates an amazing match, and this was no exception. So the story of Paul Heyman trying to choose who he wanted to align himself with, and that ever-looming what if of if Seth Rollins was to align himself with Paul Heyman, as if that was some sort of fantasy booking idea that actually ended up becoming a reality, all came together and created an absolutely phenomenal triple threat match, which is why that is another one of my favorite matches of all time. Next on the list, I want to talk about one from a local independent promotion here in Perth that is called Dude, Where's My Ring? And if you haven't heard of Dude, Where's My Ring? They're probably secretly one of the best promotions that we have in all of Australia. Not just Perth, all of Australia. And they upload all of their stuff on YouTube for free. So I'm going to link their YouTube channel in the description, as well as the match that we're about to talk about in the description, so you can watch it for free. The match that we're going to talk about that I'm adding to my list of favorite matches of all time is the famous last words coffin death match between James Hartness and Felix Young. Now, what I loved about this match was, once again, like the other two matches we've talked about, the mixture of a good story with what was, from an in-ring perspective, or I guess an in-pit perspective in this case, a really phenomenal match. The story of this match basically was that in Melbourne, in another promotion called Deathmatch Down Under, there's this thing called the Dream Tournament. It's a deathmatch tournament that is now probably the biggest deathmatch tournament that takes place in Australia. Now, 3 people from Dude, Where's My Ring here in Perth went over to Melbourne to represent Perth and Dude, Where's My Ring in this tournament. They were Jared Slate, Felix Young, and James Hartness. Felix Young and James Hartness were, of course, the 2 people involved in the match. But anyway, James Hartness failed in the opening round of the tournament, that is, sorry. And Jared Slate and Felix Young won their opening round matches, but failed in the second round. So the story going in was basically that Felix Young and Jared Slate felt that James Hartness let down the team. He made an embarrassment of Dude, Where's My Ring, essentially. And that is how the match came about, basically. And one of the things I really loved about it was from the get-go, from the entrances, you could see the bad blood between the two of them. While James Hartness was making his entrance, he simply gave Felix Young a little shove. And just in that moment, you could see the bad blood between the two of them. And that continued throughout the whole match as well. What I also loved was that on this emo-themed show, both of them came out with different emo music. It was different to the entrance music they usually use. And the name of the songs escape me right now. But whenever I hear them on the radio, I actually think of this match, which is really, really good. If you have something associated with a match, I think it's a classic match, basically. And throughout the match, the physicality progressed, right? So we started with steel chairs, we then went to tables, we brought out broken music discs that they split each other open with, and then we brought out the light tubes, and yeah. That is why I really enjoyed the match. The story, the progression of violence, and everything came together to make what is probably the best match that I think I've ever seen in person. So those have been my number 1, 2, and 3 of favorite matches of all time. The Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, and the famous last words coffin death match from Dude, Where's My Ring? I highly recommend that you check out the famous last words coffin death match, as you can find that one for free on YouTube. And besides that, I might make another video in the future that could possibly be a top 10 of my favorites. And that's all for now. See you next time.